You're listening to Comic Reflections, episode 259. I'm your host, Nicholas Prom.
I'm Jeff Barnard, the ghost who watches Netflix.
Comic Reflections is brought to you by The Outhouse. You can find our show and other nifty content at theouthousers.com. And if you enjoy this program, please subscribe to us on either iTunes or Stitcher. Now, today, this is a very special episode of Comic Reflections. We are celebrating the 80th anniversary of The Phantom.
Cool, and that's the joke, the ghost who walks.
Yeah.
And he's the first costume superhero.
Well, he's the first costumed hero in comics.
Okay.
So, the comic strip debuted in 1936, of course, preceding Superman, who had come up in, 1939? Or 38, I can't remember. That's odd. I can't recall that. But 2 years after, Lee Falk had already created Mandrake the Magician, which was also a hit comic strip. And Lee Falk wrote The Phantom from 1936 up until his death in 1999.
Which is awesome, because I must have read his work. Because I know I've read, used to read the newspaper cover to cover, and I'd read most of the comics.
Sure. And, you know, the Phantom and Mandrake the Magician, his other key creation. I mean, these are some of the longest running comic strips in history, and they're characters known around the world. The Phantom has appeared in movies, animation.
There was a recent movie. I don't think it was...
There was a movie in the 90s. There was a straight-to-video movie, like in the last couple of years. I haven't seen that. But yeah, he's appeared cross media. He's a world renowned figure, and yes, the first comic superhero.
Yeah.
Lee Falk also wrote and directed hundreds of stage plays too. He was not just doing one thing. So.
I was looking up Wikipedia to see if I could find anything, and they were talking about in World War II, the soldiers would read The Phantom, and I guess they would pass it on to the natives. And some of the natives used the Phantom as tribal art, which is cool.
That's really cool, you know. And I loved it with the cross pollination of pop culture characters is wonderful like that. You know, Superman is a world icon. You know, and you know, sorry to say, but to a lesser extent, the Phantom is as well. But yeah, the last couple of years, Hermes Press, they've licensed the Phantom from King Features Syndicate, who own the character. And they've been doing these reprint volumes of the comic strips and the comic books as published by Charlton and Gold Key and so on. And the last couple of years, they put out a book on Free Comic Book Day, reprinting stories from the old Phantom comic books. And so we're going to talk about some of those stories. And yes, so the Phantom Free Comic Book Day 2015 has a beautiful cover by Don Newton, painted. It's really lovely. And the beginning in the book, the first couple of pages of art are Don Newton art. And those are from the Phantom number 67 from Charlton from October of 1975. And then following that, there's a couple of pages of new art from the current comic book series by Sal Velluto. And Sal Velluto has just recovered from cancer treatment. Folks, get in touch with him on Facebook. You can help him pay for some of his extensive medical costs. His art is beautiful stuff. It sees here on pages 3 and 4.
Oh, it is beautiful.
Yeah, and want to keep that guy in circulation. He's terrific. I've only been recently introduced to his stuff, but I think it's fabulous. I hope the guy has a lengthy career. But the first real story, these first few pages recount the origin of the Phantom. Do you want to talk about it a little bit, Jeff?
Oh, sure. It's a cool origin story.
In like the 14 or 1500s.
Yeah. He's on a ship. Pirates attack. They kill him. Everybody kill his father. He escapes. He finds a pirate dead who killed his father.
Because the pirate was wearing his father's clothes.
Yeah.
So he swears on the skull of this pirate he's going to dedicate his life to ending piracy, greed, and what was the rest of it?
Piracy, greed, cruelty, and injustice in all their forms.
Yeah. And so he and his sons, he creates the costume of the Phantom, and he rules the jungle, and Every guy, the Phantom has gone on for hundreds of years, and the son of each Phantom becomes the new Phantom. And the natives, people believe that he's immortal because
Yeah.
he never
So
dies.
yeah, so he's a ghost who walks.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah.
There's so much fun iconography with the Phantom.
For the longest time, until I read this and did a little research on it, and I thought the Phantom was a knockoff of Superman or Batman. I didn't know it was before then. That rocked my world.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the comic superhero definitely has its origins with the Phantom. And he's really the transitional character from the pulp heroes like the Shadow, the Spider, and so on, the Avenger, into the comic book superhero. So, I mean, he's that wonderful benchmark, the evolution of these kinds of characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great outfit. I think it's purple, but someone says mauve.
I don't know. It's purple. Mauve is a kind of purple.
Yeah.
The shirt you're wearing is like Phantom color.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
He has a ring
With the
with a
skull ring.
on it, and if he punches you, it leaves a skull on you, and it never goes away.
That's pretty cool. I've seen that. I've read some of the comic strip work as well as the comic book stuff that we're going to talk about today, and it's cool. It's cool. But let's talk about a full Phantom story. It's called The Tournament.
Okay.
What?
Oh, go ahead. I was going to talk about finish that. Well,
Oh, there's this beautiful painted pinup. I think this is also by Don Newton. I'm not sure, but yeah, go ahead and talk about it.
The tournament.
I thought you were
Okay.
going to talk about that pinup.
Oh, I just think it's gorgeous. It's
Oh yeah.
he just punching someone out who has a revolver, and he looks like he's enjoying it, having a good time.
The Phantom.
Yeah, and it's just red and yellow, and I don't know, just very well done.
Yeah. Well, back when the Gold Key, they were really known for, like, they'd spend a little money and do these beautifully painted covers, and they're really eye-catching. I mean, I'd buy those if they were on the newsstand. But anyway, let's talk about this story, The Tournament. And this is from the Gold Key Phantom, number 15, cover dated December of 1965. And this story was written by Bill Harris with art by Bill Lignante.
Oh, pretty good little story. The tournament is the African, I guess it's a great jungle tournament, and the two strongest men fight each other to the death, and the one who wins rules the jungle for a whole year.
Yeah.
Um,
But the Phantom put a stop to that brutal thing, and so it's like they just wrestle, and the winner, not to the death.
yeah, and the winner wrestles the Phantom,
Yeah.
and which is kind of cool. I don't know. Couldn't they just had a bake sale or a lottery or something? I mean, yeah. And I think they mentioned it later on, but the best wrestler doesn't mean it's going to be the best ruler.
Right, but also it's the jungle, and also it's a comic book.
Oh, yeah, but in ancient
I would
Greece,
agree it's a dumb way to do it.
But in ancient Greece, people would rather win the Olympics than be king, and they use winning the Olympics to be a big shot, and it was that big a deal. So this is not a.
Well, the king has all this pressure. You win the Olympics, you're like, woohoo! Here
Yeah.
come the girls. I
Right.
win.
Yeah, but it's this is not too far fetched, and
No, it's not. It's yeah.
I know there's tribes who fight with swords and all that stuff. So, but okay.
So, an escaped criminal
Mm-hmm.
convict from a chain gang. Where is this European chain gang in the jungle?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's just kind of I mean, it just occurred to me now. But anyway, the Phantom is bathing in the river or in a pond or something, and the prisoner, his prison uniform is tore up from walking through the jungle, and so he steals the Phantom's clothes and then wanders upon the village, just in time to wrestle the guy to determine who's going to be the winner.
And it brings up a good point about costumes, is that if you put on a costume, then someone thinks you're like Superman or whatever. And,
Yeah, maybe not
especially with
Superman because he doesn't have a cowl, but
yeah,
But yeah, if you walk into a room in a world where Batman exists, and you wear the Batman costume, people might think you're Batman,
yeah,
and that could be very dangerous for you.
yeah, and for everybody else,
Yeah.
Actually, it was done in the Joker, what is the Joker one? The last Joker movie. What was it?
The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight.
Oh,
That
where there
was-
were copycats.
Yes.
Yeah, and he I mean, the Joker wasn't dumb. He figured they were fakes.
Yeah.
But
But it still caused a lot of trouble. So
yeah,
it
but those
is.
guys died.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So the convict, he's dressed like the Phantom, and he's hungry, and to, he cannot speak the lingo.
Right. And so he
So,
just kind of keeps it
and they're
tight-lipped.
saying, well, Phantom, no, do not want to talk to us. So
Yeah.
he is silent. Then he's having a good time, and but the real Phantom just realized that his clothes are stolen.
Yeah.
So he
So-
goes and gets another pair.
Yeah.
And
Well, of course. I mean, it makes sense he would have more than one costume.
right,
Especially in the jungle, your clothes would rot off your body all the time.
yeah,
you know?
everything rots.
Yeah.
Metal rust, and leather rots. I guess plastic's the only thing that lasts. So, and so they have,
You think the Phantom's costumes may be a polyester blend?
yeah. Okay. Mhm. So the fake Phantom, he's watching the wrestling. He doesn't know what's going on, and it's kind of interesting that normally everybody in the comic book speaks the same language,
Right.
no matter what part of Africa you're in.
Right. You
or
just have to
Asia.
suspend disbelief that we're either reading it translated, and if somebody's communicating with them without any problems, that they're just speaking their language.
That's fine. I really don't care.
Yeah.
But this is well done.
Yeah.
Because he is totally ignorant what's going on.
Oh,
And-
it's great.
Yeah.
It makes for a very interesting story.
Yeah. And one of the guys wins. He's Wogan of the Wambisi. And
I wonder if he knows the Watusi.
yeah, and he's the winner.
And so he has to wrestle the Phantom.
Yeah.
And so the fake Phantom obviously gets it handed to him
Mm-hmm.
because he's just a common criminal.
Right.
Not the ghost who walks.
Yeah. And and here's the thing. What I was talking about earlier. The tribespeople say, "Oh no, this guy beats the Phantom. He's just a stupid wrestler. He's going to lead us."
Which I think is great. And
Yeah.
it raises the very same point you brought up earlier. Like, wait a sec, that's not a good way to
Mhm.
do this.
Yeah. And then so the Phantom, the fake one, runs away.
Yeah.
And here comes the real Phantom, and the people are dissing him.
Yeah.
He goes, there's a new ruler, and he said, why are the crowds leaving? As if you don't know. That's great.
Yeah. So he figures out what's happened, and then he says, well, I'm going to track down this guy. And finds him in the next panel.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, and he beats the crap out of him, and he confesses, and so he brings them to the tribespeople.
And they figure out what happened.
And they prove. And so how do we know which one is which? So, oh, I got my ring. So
Like, because they didn't look before. But it's also, this kind of like opens up, like, don't you think this might plant the seed of doubt? And they're like, wait a sec, maybe the Phantom isn't immortal. Maybe
Ooh.
the ghost who walks
Ooh.
really is just keeps new guys keep wearing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That might dawn on somebody.
Yeah.
Even these, primitive tribes.
Yeah, and just because you're primitive don't mean you can't be smart.
Right. I mean, if you were that dumb, you wouldn't survive.
Right. Yeah. So now the king is the Wambisi. Well, they said, well, he fought the fake Phantom, so
So
he's
the
going
real
to fight the
Phantom-
real Phantom, and then of course the Phantom wins, and everyone's happy, and it was kind of cool. Don't you like?
I like the Phantom's throne in his cave when he's got his dog Devil with him. Yeah, in the Phantom.
and the skulls on top of
Yeah,
it.
it's really cool. It's very cool.
Another cool cover, which I don't think has anything to do with what we were.
No, it's just another cool pinup. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't realize we were going to talk about these. I didn't give art credits for them.
Oh, okay. Oh, they're pretty nice.
Yeah. The next page, there is a nice cover by Jim Aparo. Reproduced the cover, and then we'll talk about this next story
Yeah.
here.
So, go ahead.
It's called The River That Never Ends, written by D.J. Arneson, penciled and inked by Jim Aparo, who you may recall his work on Batman,
Oh.
Aquaman, The Spectre,
Mhm.
Phantom Stranger. He's like the definitive artist for all these characters. He's wonderful.
Yeah. I must say, the art's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I
On
really
all of
like.
these. Some of it's better than others. Some of it's kind of golden aging, which is not my favorite, but
Right,
I can still appreciate it. So,
right. Now this story um, was reprinted from the Charlton Phantom number 36, and it came out in February of 1970. And go ahead and talk about this story.
the river that never ends. The Phantom is saving these people who are caught in a whirlpool,
Yeah,
and he gets caught, and it goes, and they get sucked down into the earth, way, way down, and they're in this huge cavern and all this, and well, you know, Edgar Rice Burroughs didn't write this because there's no dinosaurs here. But they would, but I was kind of disappointed actually. But it's cool. It's really desolate, and there's nothing there. Um, so he starts swimming, and it's really cool. He almost drowns, and it's really well done. I was actually feeling kind of anxious about him. Is he going to live? So, you know, I know he's going to live, but still,
but how's he going to get out of it? And
yeah.
that's interesting. That's always makes for a compelling story if you don't know what's
Mhm.
if it's telegraphed what's going to happen a mile away, it's not as interesting as something that can produce some actual tension.
Yeah, and I was actually kind of wondering if he was going to make it, even though I logically knew that he was going to live since they're not going to stop making the Phantom anytime soon. But I did worry a little bit, and it was just going to. Drowning is not I don't know, it freaks me out. So,
Right.
so he gets out into another cavern, and he said, "I'm stuck here too." But Devil, who is a wolf, pet wolf, and he hears the Phantom in the ground, and Devil digs him out.
Yeah.
So Devil saves him, and they go back. Say there are two kids who are drowning, and they're saved. So they're saved. So now we go to another scene, part two. There's a boat with a bunch of pirates who is, I guess, boat jacked it.
Yeah.
They're stealing ivory.
Because the natives are piling up ivory tusks on the riverbanks because reasons
No,
probably.
no, no. You know, there'll be a boat come by and they'll sell it to them. You know.
Oh, okay, but these pirates are just going to steal it.
Right.
Okay, now I understand. Now these are ivory tusks that are clearly sawn off, and so like no elephants were harmed in the creating of this comic book story.
Yeah, that's so. They start stealing, and then someone goes and tells the Phantom what's going on, and they're going down the same river that has well, it's a river that has no end.
Yeah, the whirlpool.
Hmm.
So yeah, oh yeah, so the Phantom got out, and so he's going to go in after these pirates.
Yeah. So the Phantom talks to one of the chieftains. Says, "I know it's a great sacrifice, but I need your ivory." So he's going to try to entice the ship to the whirlpool, and
Yeah,
he hangs this canopy of
like vines.
yeah, vines. So to hide the whirlpool.
Right, so they'll just come up on it, and whoops,
Mhm.
they can't back up or get away.
Yeah, a complicating factor is the Phantom knows the boat and he knows the captain, and so he figures that the captain is there against his will.
Right.
So they, the captain says, "Hey, you know, there's a whirlpool here." He says, "Ah, we don't care." And then they get sucked in the whirlpool. The Phantom does a Tarzan with a vine and goes and grabs the captain, and the ship goes down into the whirlpool with all the bad guys.
Yeah.
And
The Phantom leaves him there.
yeah, he says they'll remain where they are long enough, for the evil they hold to be washed from their souls. Until then, they will remain prisoners of the river that never ends.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And another cool Phantom. This looks like just advertising for the Phantom,
For the new comic series, and that's with art by Sal Valuto.
and it looks cool. So
Yeah.
very nice.
Yes. I'm kind of interested in checking out that. So
Mm-hmm.
before we
Me
talk about
too.
the next book, we are going to take a quick promotional break. But I want to remind listeners that The Phantom is owned by King Feature Syndicate and is currently being published by Hermes Press, who are reprinting their comic book and comic strip work of The Phantom. You should definitely check that stuff out.
Aquaman and and Firestorm, fighting crime together. Soak 'em down or burn 'em up, no one does it better. Whenever you find trouble, they'll always be there to catch them in a bubble or even torch their hair. They stand for truth and justice in sea, on land, and air. Firestorm and Aquaman, they make a super pair.
The Fire and Water Podcast, celebrating Aquaman, King of the Seven Seas, and Firestorm, the Nuclear Man.
Available weekly on Aquaman Shrine, Firestorm Fan, and on iTunes and Stitcher.
I'm one of your hosts, the Irredeemable Shag, here to talk about Firestorm. Along with me is my co-host Rob Kelly, here to talk about some guy that talks to fish.
Really? You're going to pull this crap during the promo? Bad enough I have to put up with your shenanigans every week, but...
Black Canary.
I'll need a sparring partner.
I'm Zatanna. Why do you care about some leggy dame in nylons? Or have I answered my own question? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for magic.
Black Canary and Zatanna, together in one podcast. I'm Ryan Daly, and I've got a thing for superheroes in fishnet stockings. That's why I started Power of Fishnets, the Black Canary and Zatanna podcast. Join me every 2 weeks as I celebrate the Blonde Bombshell and the Mistress of Magic in their exciting adventures published by DC Comics. Power of Fishnets, available on iTunes and at fireandwaterpodcast.com.
And we're back. So now we're going to talk about the Phantom 2016 Free Comic Book Day special. Let's look at that cover art. It's beautiful stuff by Jim Aparo. Love it. He's one of my all-time favorite artists in comics. Just love him. You know, he cut his teeth. He broke into the industry at Charlton working on the Phantom. And he goes on to do, he'd be like, for me, the definitive Batman artist, among other characters.
Interesting.
He's my favorite Batman artist.
Yeah.
You know, like, remember all the issues of The Brave and the Bold? We've covered some of those.
Yeah.
I just love his Batman. So
That's cool.
Yeah. But anyway, the first story in this issue that we're going to talk about is called The Trap. It was written by D.J. Arneson with art by Jim Aparo. And it's reprinted from the Charlton Phantom, number 38. It came out in June of 1970.
Yeah. I love this. For those who came in late. I like that.
Well, especially on the newsstand, the spinner rack, you're like, yeah, you got to come in. You're always coming in late unless you've been following it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's nice to get some kind of recap to help you get a vibe for what's a lay of the land for, you know, what this character's about. If you have no idea.
Mm-hmm. And they do it in one page and they're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does kind of do a nice little recap of the Phantom's origin again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like they have an old Phantom. So, time to retire.
And he passes the mantle to his son.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It's a really neat concept.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd like to read Phantom stories that were more in a urban setting, you know, fighting, you know, more regular criminals.
Yeah.
But it's just that's maybe just my taste. I'm not crazy about jungle stories.
No. Jungles were exotic. It's just been done, and it's and that's the problem with the older stuff is that it gets copied and redone and rebooted and all that stuff. So the original seems, I've already seen this and read it, but you read it because someone stole it.
Yeah, but what a bright idea. You know, the Phantom. It's like you took the Shadow and mixed it with Tarzan.
Yeah.
What a neat idea.
Yeah.
You know, but it's something that has its own flavor. Definitely its own distinct feel, and I like that.
One of the things that I noticed, the font, one thing, it has a skull in it.
In the O.
It's a really cool one. And the Phantom Fortress, I'm not sure what the name of it is.
I don't know, but his Skull Cave.
Yeah, I think it is Skull Cave, and it's shaped like a skull.
Which is awesome. And, you know, superstitious natives are going to stay away from it.
Oh, that's brilliant. And he has that ring.
I mean, like, if you saw a cave that was shaped like a skull, you'd think twice about going there.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good lair, even though it's sort of out in the open,
Mhm.
but he's in the jungle. So nobody's gonna know exactly where it is.
Right.
It's kind of cool. There's a lot of neat stuff to play with there.
Yeah, I didn't have satellites then. To
Yeah,
take a
I
pic
think
and
there's some
Google
Doc
Earth of it.
Savage elements that are at play with the
Are
Phantom
they
as well.
doing Doc Savage?
Yeah, there's gonna be a new Doc Savage movie.
Yeah.
It should be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, like, unless it isn't cool.
I think Dwayne Johnson's going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be either great or terrible.
Yeah, supposedly he likes it, and someone said you got to be really into Doc Savage in order to do it well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely willing to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I enjoy pulp heroes, and the Phantom really feels like a pulp hero.
Yeah.
He's definitely
Yeah,
born
definitely.
from that stock.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the Phantom's girlfriend Diana, she's on a plane.
She is an art historian, I guess.
I think so.
And so they're going to gather these art treasures and put them in a new museum. And they call her to do it, and she doesn't want to. She says, "Wait a minute, I'll go visit my boyfriend in Africa."
Yeah.
So she takes a plane, not knowing that she's followed by these hoods
Yeah.
who want to steal the treasures. She's going to surprise the Phantom, but this Phantom is not so easily surprised. He knew she was coming because she is the only one who would be right for the role here. So,
Which, okay.
and so, and when you never see him with his eyes. Here he is. He's in civilian clothes. He's wearing
Sunglasses.
sunglasses.
Yeah, we never see his eyes. You're right. We never see his secret ID or his civilian identity mentioned. He's just the Phantom.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he has one.
Yeah, it's Mr. Walker for Ghost Who Walks. That used to make me laugh every time I saw it.
Yeah, I was looking all over for it in the Wikipedia pages. I think it was Billy Walker. He was a rich playboy or something like that. But of course, when it came time for him to take up the role of the Phantom, the playboy life is behind him.
Right. Yeah. The reason why the original artist had you don't see any eyes, and he was copying the Greek statues.
Yeah, Lee Falk's original idea was, now he only really did like the first couple weeks of the strip and then just wrote it, hired an artist, but he came up with the concept.
Right.
Same with Mandrake. That's why Mandrake actually looks like Lee Falk.
Wow.
Because when he came up with it, he was alone in a room with a mirror.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. But he thought that the Greek statues looked imposing and awe-inspiring without the eyes. Although in real life back then, and this shocked me, they were painted.
They used to be painted, and the paint's just gone now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, they do look very kind of spooky, and awe-inspiring without the pupils, and that is a great look for a comic hero.
Yeah, and it also makes it easier to draw.
Well, yes, it's simpler, and it's also very imposing and dramatic. It works great. And think how many masked super characters you don't see the pupils. Spider-Man, Batman.
Dr. Doom. He's a villain.
Well, when you get close-ups on Dr. Doom,
Oh,
you
yeah,
will
yeah,
see
yeah,
his
you're
eyes.
right, you're right.
But masked Cowls heroes, this is a tradition. It's
Yeah.
not across the board, but
Right.
it's quite a bit.
I was wanting to see. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
But it's the ones that are supposed to be a little more mysterious. If they have a full mask, full head mask like Spider-Man,
Yeah.
or a cowl like Batman, you'll see it a lot with that. But anyway, let's move on.
Okay. So the Phantom meets his girlfriend. They're talking. And he tells her, I can't be with you, but if you need help, give me a yell.
Yeah, because he's busy being the Phantom.
Mm-hmm. So she goes off to the jungle to gather the art treasures. There's a cave with all this art treasures in it. And she is being followed by the bad guys. And they find this tribesman, and he's got a gold idol, and just kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
And so they force the tribesman to lead them to the cave. And he does, because what choice does he have? And at the cave, the Phantom's there. Yay! And he beats the crap out of him. Decent fight scene. And he finds his girlfriend, and he says, "Oh, I lied." And she's really miffed at it. And she really isn't, she understands, but she still isn't over it at the end of the story. And It's kind of cool. All right, not bad. It's
Yeah.
not fair. These are very short.
Yeah, I think they picked some shorter backup stories so they could fill this issue with several stories and show kind of a variety of the kinds of things you'll find with the Phantom.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if the first one doesn't strike you, maybe this other thing, like, oh,
Right.
okay, now I'm into this character. So, but anyway, the next story we're going to talk about is called, it's also from the Charlton Phantom number 38. And this is called The Phantom's New Faith, written by D.J. Arneson, with art again by Jim Aparo.
Okay. Jim Aparo has a wonderful signature.
Yes, he does.
That's lovely. Phantom's New Face, so he becomes a Scientologist?
No, Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. This is about him kind of having some doubts in carrying on the legacy of the Phantom. Because he's reading the journal of the old Phantoms and really...
And they made a river turn back, and they've stopped a volcano, and wrestled a mighty lion, and...
Yeah. Well, this is I like this trope that you'll see in superhero fiction of the hero having doubts, and then when the chips are down, they spring into action, and they really meet the challenge, and then they feel better about it. I like that.
Yeah. I just realized that when he's reading about what his forebears did, he does every single one of them in this issue.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah. So he's hanging out, and he sees a gorilla about to kill a little boy.
Well, that doesn't sound very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the gorilla is going to, it looks like he's going to sacrifice him to the gorilla gods, because there's a volcano it's erupting. And
what a revolting development.
yeah. Yeah. So he well, nowadays they just shoot the gorilla. But on phones.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. But
yeah, it is sad.
But if a child was in danger,
Yeah, exactly.
So like that's a recent news story that happened.
And yeah, that's just it's the kid is in danger. And so I like gorillas too. They're neat. But kids are neater. Especially if it was my kid. But instead of shooting him, he punches him in the gut and makes him drop the kid. And he just beats the crap out of the gorilla.
Yeah, and it's really great. I mean, although gorillas tend to be not really aggressive like this, they're pretty docile animals.
Yeah.
With great strength, though.
But I wouldn't want to make one mad at me.
No, I mean, but there's a reason they've captured our imagination. But we also have a distortion of how they actually are.
Right.
In much of media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here comes the lava flow. So what he does is he stops the river and changes the course, so the river hits the lava and cools it down.
How does he change the course of the river?
He knocks over a big rock.
Oh, okay. That's right.
And so he saves the kid. So he does everything he was talking about his forebears doing in this one issue. And there's only about 4 pages.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, 6 maybe.
Yeah. So, there's many short stories in this issue.
Yeah, here's something. The last thing he says is kind of cool. Perhaps a man is not a proper judge of himself. Perhaps one should let others decide if he has failed or succeeded.
Yeah, and there's a nice little, thing to think about. That's a good message, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
All right.
So the next story we have is called Bandard Betrayers, and this is reprinted from the Charlton Phantom number 37. Which came out in April of 1970. And this story was written by D.J. Arneson with art by Jim Aparo.
Okay.
It's an all Aparo spectacular.
Yeah. No complaints here.
Oh, I love this guy. So.
Okay. The Phantoms gets caught by this friendly tribesman, and they're mad at him.
Yeah, and by the way, they're pygmies. They're like little guys.
I didn't get that until they said they're pygmies here.
Yeah, it wasn't conveyed particularly great. This is still really early in Jim Aparo's career, and while he's very good, there's still some roughness to it.
Yeah. They
So
don't look short.
Right, and how do you draw a small person, without making their features, truncated or whatever?
I just wouldn't have made them pygmies. Although pygmies are kind of cool, but
Yeah.
that's
And who knows? Maybe there's a bunch of Phantom stories with the Bandar, and so it's like, look, you're writing about the Bandar. They're little people,
okay.
So
And Bandar Betrayers, that title sings, so we got to keep it that way.
yeah, it is pretty great.
So they captured him, and they're about to kill him, and he's suspended by a vine, and they cut the vine,
They put him in a pitfall
yeah.
with no spikes or anything. He's just down in the cave
Mm-hmm.
in a hole.
And they're ready to beat the crap out of kill him.
And he doesn't understand. These are my friends. Why are they doing that? And then he remembers this crappy flower that blooms once a year.
The acacia tree.
Yeah.
And there are acacias, but I don't know. And I was trying to see, it'd be great if I could buy a acacia tree and have, what an acacia tree does is it makes people go crazy once a year and kill their brothers and all that stuff. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, just put them in rooms with people you don't like and just let your problems solve themselves. But yeah.
Yeah, so he's smelling the acacia and tree, and he is getting affected by it.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know what to do, but Devil and Hero, Devil's the wolf, Hero is a horse,
Yeah.
and they come by and
they scare off the Bandar.
well, no, Hero just he kicks butt,
Yeah.
and he grabs one of the guys by his loincloths and throws him around, and it scares him off. And Devil brings a rope. I love smart dogs.
Yeah.
Because I got 3 dumb ones.
Oh, do you?
I mean, they're dogs. You
Yeah.
know, they haven't saved Timmy from the well yet. So
Yeah, but give him time.
yeah, that's so. And so he burns the acacia tree. The tribesmen are kind of they're really apologetic.
And they snap out of it, and then their friendship is reaffirmed.
Yeah, trust your heart when unreasons warps your mind. Indeed,
That's
wise
pretty
words
cool.
from the Phantom, the ghost who walks.
Yeah. So we have one more story to talk about today, and it's called Skyjack. This is also from the Charlton Phantom, number 37, and it was written by D.J. Arneson with art by...
Aparo!
Yay!
Man. All right, the skyjacking. It's a big thing in the 70s. Doesn't happen very often now.
Well,
I can't
yeah.
remember the last one. I mean,
Isn't that good?
yeah, it is. It is very interesting.
But yeah, I mean, like, when was D.B. Cooper? 1970?
Yeah, something like that.
So this is ripped from today's headlines, because this is a 1970 comic book.
Yeah.
April of 1970. Maybe it was 69.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, these things are short, so it's the very first panel says there's a skyjacking going on. So,
Yeah.
and he wants to be sent to this country. We never find out what it is. I'm thinking it's Cuba.
Sure.
And here's the Phantom. He's dressed in civilian clothes, hat, trench coat, and dark glasses. Yeah, you don't wear that in an airplane.
Yeah.
Because you look like a skyjacker.
You look like D.B. Cooper.
Yeah. But maybe that gives him the idea that the Phantom's gonna pretend to be a skyjacker himself, and from the same country, and he's mad at the other skyjacker for messing things up, which
Yeah.
is a brilliant idea.
It is pretty great. Now, did we establish that there's this other skyjacker he's taking over? I don't
Yes.
feel like we really...
Oh, but in the first panel, they had a skyjacker.
Okay, yeah. And he speaks in a weird kind of cadence, so it's like, okay, you are definitely from some nation of
And he's
swarthy
swarthy,
people.
yeah. Oh, so the Phantom pretends to be a skyjacker too, and
And he's feeding the pilots kind of coded language.
like he mentions Idlewild, which is the original name for Kennedy Airport
Yeah.
or JFK Airport.
I thought it was LaGuardia.
No, LaGuardia's still there, I think.
No, okay. No, but it wasn't always called LaGuardia. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Just carry on.
He's trying to tell the pilots that he's on their side. So
Yeah.
So,
So they pick up what he's putting down.
hmm And he sends it to New York City instead of Cuba or whatever.
Right. So they turn the plane around and they go back to New York, and it's stormy weather also is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they radio the tower and they're going to land,
Yeah. And he doesn't. And the guy sees outside and sees the coast. And is you sure that's my country? And he said, yeah. and but he finally figures out that it's America.
Yeah.
At the end, and there's a fisticuff. So, which is kind of, how do you fight somebody with a gun where you dare not let the gun go off?
Right.
Even if he misses, it can be really
Could
bad.
mess up the instruments on the plane. Could cause a rupture of the air cabin pressure.
Yeah.
There are problems.
Yeah. Although that's overstated. The worry about that. You can put a bullet hole in the plane side. If it doesn't hit anything like wires, it's the cabin pressure will equalize quickly.
Right. But
it won't suck people out. Like
it's more about the instruments. That's a problem. Okay.
Yeah, it might hit somebody innocent too. So
the
nice
Phantom,
little fight, and he wins. Yay.
Yeah, and then so when the plane lands and the people are there to arrest the skyjacker, the Phantom slips away.
Yeah.
Also, Diana was on the plane.
No, Diana picks him up.
Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry.
And so how can you escape? Okay.
He's the Phantom, man.
Right, yeah. But
they don't show it because it's supposed to be a mystery. Come on now.
Yeah, but it's cool.
But this has been our special for the 80th anniversary of the Phantom. Jeff, do you have anything else to add to that before we go?
Not really, although I enjoy these immensely.
Yeah, these were a lot of fun. One more thing before we sign off, I've been getting in a habit of reading some of our iTunes reviews on air, and this one comes from Matt Moment, who calls us a good show.
Wow.
So this is really short. He says, I love the consistent and frequent content and devotion to the craft.
Oh.
5 stars.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Yes. So, this has been Comic Reflections. Until next time.
I'll see you in the funny pages.
So which is the hottest Marvel character?
Iron Man.
Ant-Man. I can't decide between Professor X and Magneto, so both.
Loki.
Is Wolverine Marvel?
What about White Tiger?
What about White Tiger?
Doc Samson.
Doc who?
Star Fox.
That's a video game.
The girls go on a journey to determine every Marvel character's hotness in Ohatmu or Not, the official handbook of the Marvel Universe podcast you didn't know you wanted. Available on iTunes and at fireandwaterpodcast.com.
I'm Mike Gillis.
And I'm Casey Doran, and we want to ask you an important question.
Are you sick and tired of other panel discussion shows wasting your time droning on and on about foreign policy, economics, and human rights?
Or do you want to hear conversations about things that actually matter?
We host a podcast called Radio versus the Martians. Every month we gather a panel of our nation's finest minds and plunge a rusty prison shank into the heart of tough questions that have an impact on the lives of real people like you.
Like, are drivers required to pull over for the Ghostbusters?
Is the United Federation of Planets actually an oppressive dictatorship run by guidance counselors?
Is Arnold Schwarzenegger secretly a genius?
And are we being mean when we laugh at movies that are so bad they're good?
So write your congressman and let them know that Radio vs. the Martians is available on iTunes, Stitcher, and on radioversusthemartians.com.